Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're doing good today. Well, today I'm going to show you what I do to get ready to plant tomatoes next year. And I have done this now for 3 years and it has worked out phenomenal. Just amazing results. And because of something that I tried this year, I'm going to show you anybody, literally anybody can do this. It's one amendment that anybody can get. So you can grow great tomatoes, no blossom end rot, and no manure. You don't have to use any manure, no compost. You don't even have to use eggshells, banana peels, any of that. And you're going to get just phenomenal results. So let me show you what I'm doing. Now, if you try this method, I practically guarantee you will not plant tomatoes any other way. I've made several videos on the results of doing this, and you can go back and watch them. But again, I can't stress it enough. It is just amazing. This year here, I planted San Marzanos, which are really prone to blossom end rot, and we had a lot of dry weather. And as you know, blossom end rot is a watering issue just as much as a lack of calcium issue, and they still didn't get any blossom end rot. So this method that I'm going to show you, it really works, and you got to try it. So let me show you the first step. All right, so the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run a string, and what this is going to do is it's going to keep this row straight, and that way when I come back and I put in my fence post and my trellis, everything works really good. It's not crooked or anything. And so it makes it easier to support my tomatoes when I get a nice straight row. So let's go ahead and we're going to drill some holes. The size of the bit that I'm using on this gas-powered auger is 8 inches in diameter. Now, the size of the hole really does matter. You wouldn't want to use a 2 or a 4-inch hole because there's just not enough room for your amendments. A 6-inch hole would probably be just fine. An 8-inch hole I think works really good, but anything bigger than that is probably overkill. And I am going to drill these down about 1 foot. You don't necessarily have to have a gas-powered auger to do this, but it really does make it go a lot faster. Each one of these holes I drilled in right around a minute. You can use a shovel, you can use post hole diggers, a spade. I have done that. The older I get, the less I want to do that. And so, the gas-powered auger really does make it a lot more efficient and save a lot of back-breaking work, especially if you're going to put in a lot of tomatoes. So let me show you what I do after I dig the hole. Hey, I just wanted to take a second here and say thank you for taking your time to watch this video. Now, if you have liked it and found value in it, check out some of my other ones, but please consider subscribing. I really would appreciate it, and as always, it is free. Well, let me show you what I'm going to do to get these holes ready. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is actually really important. And I'm going to take all this dirt and I'm just going to move it back away from that hole. And then I'm going to clean that hole out and get all the loose dirt that I can out of there, because that's going to make more room for the amendments. Now, the first year I did this, I left that dirt like it was, and through the winter it just filled that hole, not all the way back in, but it did fill it in some. And so anymore, I just try to clear all the dirt that I can out, because it's just going to make more room for your amendments. Now, I would like to take a real quick minute and talk about spacing. Over the last few years, and if you see any of my videos on how my tomatoes come out, they didn't get real tall, but they did get extremely bushy. And I know everybody has their own preference on how to space tomatoes. But what I'm doing is I'm going 4 foot between holes. and then I'm going to have another row of them right up here. And so I'm going to have 3 to 4 foot between the rows, and it's for airflow. You know, I think it helps cut down on disease, and it's healthier for your tomato plants to have a good airflow. So if you try this method, you'll want to have a nice spacing. Well, let me go ahead and show you the amendments. All right, so what I used for amendments this year was I used rabbit manure with alfalfa pellets that are mixed into it. And I used chicken manure that was very well aged. And for some of the rows, now I put in 42 tomato plants this year. And so for 2 or 3 of them rows, which would have been about 18 plants, I added, you know, very finely crushed eggshell. Well, I ran out of eggshell is what happened. And so I just used, you know, just manure. And I can't say, because I only used chicken manure in one row, I'm just trying to be honest here, what it would do without, you know, eggshell or something in it. Because alfalfa pellets have a lot of calcium in them. And, you know, rabbit manure, it's just a great all-around fertilizer. And so I can tell you one thing. I planted tomatoes this year with nothing but rabbit manure that had alfalfa pellets in it, and I got no blossom end rot. I added nothing else to it. But then about April, I decided to try an experiment where all I used was just alfalfa pellets. And so I made a video on that, and at first it didn't look like it was going to work very well at all. And I was really kind of sad, because I am privileged in the fact that I have manure. I got pig, chicken, rabbit manure that I can use, but not everybody is like that. And so I really do try to find things that everybody can use. Well, later on in the year, these, I think, finally really started breaking down good. And so my tomatoes, like I say, I had San Marzanos, which are very prone to blossom end rot. And this was the only amendment that I used. And even in the dry conditions, no blossom end rot. So I'm really looking forward to putting this in this year and seeing how good it does when I give it a chance to break down. Now, let me explain to you why all this works so good, especially in clay soil. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some in the holes. Okay. So this is going to explain a lot. Take a look at this. Now you see that hole that I drilled. That's that clay, and it's just so hard, you know. And the reason why you want to do this at this time of year is because of that. Let me explain. Okay, so right now it's just about Thanksgiving, and I'm really not going to plant any tomatoes probably before maybe the second week in May, somewhere around Mother's Day. That's when I plant them here in West Central Indiana. Now, the reason why I want to do this in late fall, early winter, it really doesn't have so much to do with letting the manure break down or anything like that. Now, I did learn the hard way. I do want to give these alfalfa pellets a chance to break down. But it has more to do with that soil that I showed. It is just so hard that, you know, if I just waited, you know, a couple weeks even before I planted tomatoes and dug a hole and did all this, even if the manure was broke down available to use, that soil is just so hard that it makes those roots on them tomatoes, it makes them really have to work to get into that soil. Well, this is what I figured out after doing this for a couple of years, is the fact that all winter long, you know, I have this manures down in these holes, and it's softening up that dirt. When rain gets down in there, you know, it just makes everything so much softer And obviously, you know, the worms are going to come in, and so they're going to create holes. And so my root system on my tomatoes, they are just 100 times better than they used to be. Therefore, they're able to take in more nutrients. And so this is where you're not getting the blossom end rot. You're getting huge tomatoes. I mean, I have had some really, really nice tomatoes in the last 2 or 3 years. And so it's all because you want to do this and let that soil break down and get soft. So, you know, I could probably wait until December, maybe even January, you know, and I would still have about 4 months left. But it just seems like, you know, the longer you go, the better it is. Now, let me show you what I do as far as adding, you know, these manures and these amendments, because there's something that I do have to keep an eye out on. Okay, so I'm going to start out with alfalfa pellets. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to show you guys, hopefully, how much it's going to take, you know, to fill in several holes. You know, this is pretty much a full 5-gallon bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up these 3 holes, and we're going to see how much I have left. So, a 5-gallon bucket of alfalfa pellets filled up about 2.5 holes. Now, maybe I shouldn't have filled them quite as high as I did, because when those pellets get wet, they're going to expand. And so maybe I didn't have to put quite as much in, you know, as what I did. We'll see. But a 5-gallon bucket wasn't even half a bag. And so I'm going to say you're going to get somewhere around 6 to maybe 7 holes filled with 1 bag of alfalfa pellets. You know, and the bags that I buy, they're somewhere around $20, $21 a bag. So if you're thinking about doing this, that kind of gives you an idea of, you know, how many tomato plants you're going to put in, how much alfalfa pellets you need. Now, here is one thing that I really have to keep an eye on, and I've made this mistake in the past. And something good to do is when you get all your holes and you get your amendments in there, I have covered mine up completely with hay. The holes, everything. And it does help a little bit with, you know, suppressing weeds. But the problem is, especially if you're going to use like rabbit manure, you know, anything that's kind of dry, it's a little bit fluffy. There's air in there. And so as it gets rain on it, and it compresses down. And so there were times where I think I should have actually added more, but because I didn't see it because it was covered in hay, I didn't notice. And so one thing, you know, when you try this, just keep an eye on the holes and see, you know, make sure that you're getting, you know, a good hole full of manure. You know, I'm getting to the point where I kind of go back and look, and then if I need to, I add. Well, that is the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you've done something like this, or, you know, just share what your favorite way of growing tomatoes is. I really do enjoy the comments. Well, you guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.